Hi everyone, my name is FlygonHG, and normally I do hardcore Nuzlockes of various Pokemon games, usually with a twist. But today I thought I'd do something a little different. Let's do a solo run of Pokémon Emerald using my favorite Pokemon, Flygon. I bet you didn't see that one coming. So the funky thing about solo runs is that depending on your rule set, they can be incredibly easy, or they can be incredibly difficult. For example, with no level restrictions, I could pretty easily grind up my Flygon to level 100 and then sweep through the game. But on the other hand, with a typical hardcore Nuzlocke level cap, which would prevent me from leveling up past the next gym leader's highest leveled Pokemon, this challenge would be impossible without a tremendous amount of luck or an insane number of attempts. You'll see why pretty quickly. So I'm going to be picking a level cap and a rule set that sits somewhere in the middle. Not impossible, but hopefully not super easy. I did come up with this rule set at the start of the challenge with no idea what would happen, so you're gonna have to be the judge of whether this was a good level of difficulty or not. I'm also hoping that this video shows the stark differences between solo runs and Nuzlockes. They're both difficult in their own ways, but where the difficulty comes from is very different. So let's lay out the rules. First, I can only use a Flygon in battle. I'll be using other Pokemon for HMs because I have to, but I won't be able to use them in battle. Second, no items in battle. Held items are fair game though. Third, Flygon cannot faint. If Flygon ever faints, it's a reset. So I guess it's still kind of a Nuzlocke. And lastly, I can only fight in trainer battles. This way I can't endlessly grind on wild Pokemon, and there's at least a soft level cap for each gym leader. Okay, let's see how this goes. I start by purchasing an exclusive copy of Pokémon Emerald called Pokémon Emerald Flygon version. In the Flygon version of Pokémon Emerald, the starter Torchic is replaced with a Flygon. Suffice to say, I'm incredibly lucky that Nintendo made an official version of Pokémon Emerald featuring my favorite Pokémon. I name the Flygon HG, and we begin our journey. Now you might be thinking to yourself, this challenge is a total joke. My starter is literally a third stage dragon-type Pokémon. There's no chance that this is remotely difficult. And to an extent, you're right. Fortunately, my favorite Pokemon isn't Sunkern, because that would be really hard. But even though I love this little goggle-wearing dragon, he's got some major problems. Here's Flygon's moveset in Pokemon Emerald. Like most Pokemon in Generation 3, it's pretty awful. No ground-type moves by level up, other than Sandtomb, and the rest of its moves are special in this generation, meaning that Flygon's base 100 attack stat is pretty useless until we get some TMs. So while Flygon is still better than the Zigzagoons that I'm fighting right now, it's not quite as powerful as you might think it is. By the time I get to Roxanne, HG has leveled up to level 17. Roxanne's first Geodude goes down to a few bites, as HG remains damageless thanks to a flinch. HG then gains a level, and Roxanne's second Geodude comes out. This one goes down to a single bite though, and then Nosepass comes out. I set up a Sandtomb, which does really pitiful damage, and then I start doing damage with Bite. Roxanne stalls as much as she can with an Oranberry and a potion, but eventually the Nosepass goes down, and I get the first gym badge. Since HG resists rock types, this was never going to be a particularly difficult battle. Next up is Brawley, and here's where our level up learn set starts to become a bit inconvenient. Flygon's main damaging moves are dark type moves, which Brawley's fighting types resist. Sandtomb, with its 15 base power and 70% accuracy, is in contention for quite literally one of the worst moves in the entire game. So there's not really an easy way to take out Brawley's team quickly with HG's current move pool. However, after delivering a letter to Steven, not sure why it couldn't be an email, but anyways, he gives me the TM for Steel Wing. So now I have a 70 base power physical move that hits Brawley's Pokemon for neutral damage. This should be enough. After clearing through all the trainers along the way, I get to Brawley at level 21. He leads Machop, and I hit a Steel Wing for about half health. Then Machop gets a critical hit Karate Chop for a sizable chunk of damage. Then I miss a Steel Wing, so Machop hits a Seismic Toss, which activates my Oranberry. Another Steel Wing knocks out the Machop, and then Meditite comes out, and I don't want to risk missing a Steel Wing, so I just take it out with a few bites. Last is Makuhita, and I hit a Steel Wing, which does just about half. So Makuhita retaliates with a Vital Throw, and then its Citrus Berry activates. On the next turn, I get a low roll on Steel Wing, and Makuhita sets up a Bulk Up. So one more Steel Wing leaves Makuhita in the red, and then it retaliates with a Reversal, knocking out HG. So that's a reset. From that battle alone, it should be pretty clear that doing this with a hardcore level cap would be pretty much impossible. Flygon just has a really bad level up move pool, and without a setup move or some sort of status move or something, there's not much that I can do here. I do have Sand Attack, so I could get lucky with misses, but Makuhita has Vital Throw, which never misses. And I also really hate strategies that involve relying on accuracy. For me, they're just not very fun. Anyways, on attempt 2, Flygon is Lax Nature, which gives me plus defense and minus special defense. That's actually pretty solid for a mixed attacker like Flygon. The early game of attempt 2 goes the exact same as the first attempt, but when it becomes time to face Brawley for the second time, I decide to just ghost him and move on to Slateport without battling him. I'll come back when I have a few more levels, just in case HG decides to miss a Steel Wing again. Past Slateport and before Watson, there's a ton of trainers, including my rival May, but HG is able to bite his way through her entire team of weaklings. After fighting with some more random trainers, I return to Dewford Town and give Brawley a beatdown. HG is now at level 32, and has no problem tearing through Brawley's humanoid abominations. That's badge number 2. After that, I head to Mauville City and mow down every trainer I can find along the way. At level 33, HG learns Crunch, and at level 35, he learns Dragon Breath. And so now we're starting to get a little overpowered. But whatever. Watson is next, but since HG is part ground type, it's a pretty trivial fight. Watson also seems to forget that ground is immune to electric types because there are several times that he goes for an electric type move when any other move would have been better. I'm not really sure what the explanation for this is, but it means that I'm able to clear through Watson without any problems, even though a few of his Pokemon actually do hang on from our attacks despite a 10-ish level advantage. Good game, Watson. That's badge number 3. Next up is another huge collection of trainers, so HG is starting to become very powerful. In Falarbor Town, I get the TM for Dig, so HG finally has a ground move that's better than Sand Tomb. And that comes right in time for Flannery. After beating up the guys who want to recreate Pompeii, along with every other trainer around the map that I can find at this point, HG starts the battle against Flannery at level 42. Dig is a one-shot against the Numel, and Dragon Breath kills the Slugma, and then another Dig also one-shots the Camera. And then Flannery's Torkoal is last. I don't actually knock it out in a single dig, so Torkoal is able to hit and attract. Fortunately, HG manages to take out the love of his life after a few turns, and that's badge number 4. After this, there's just a handful of trainers in the desert to take care of. The Sandshrews and Sandslashes that all of these trainers have prove to be surprisingly annoying thanks to their Sand Veil ability, but thankfully HG doesn't take passive damage from the Sandstorm, so it never gets too dangerous. By the time I get to Norman, HG is level 44. Norman leads Spinda, and I take it out with a single dig. Then Vigoroth comes out, so I hit it with a Dragon Breath. This ends up being pretty stupid because I paralyze it, and that doubles the damage that it does with Fachade. After it heals with a Hyper Potion, a few crunches take it out though. Lanoon is next, but wastes time just trying to go for a Belly Drum and goes down without doing any damage. Last is Slaking, but because HG outspeeds it, using Dig means that Slaking can't do anything. I'm underground on the turn that it attacks, and I'm above ground when it loafs. So a few turns later, Slaking goes down, and I get the 5th gym badge. As usual, Norman is an embarrassment to the family. Next up, I make my way to Fortree City, but on the way, I stop in Mauville City and unload most of my hard-earned cash on enough Game Corner coins to purchase Flamethrower, which I teach to HG. By the time I get to Winona, HG is at level 50. Winona leads Swablu, which actually survives a Dragon Breath. I don't know. It wastes time setting up a safeguard though, and on the next turn, Winona uses a Hyper Potion. But HG hits a critical hit crunch for the one-shot. Altaria is out next, and also manages to hold on to a Dragon Breath, but Altaria will always go for a Dragon Dance on its first turn. And thanks to my level advantage, I still outspeed the Altaria, so I'm able to take it out on the next turn. Tropius goes down to a Flamethrower after that. Then Pelipper comes out, and starts delaying the game with Protect. On the next turn, it survives a Dragon Breath and manages to hit a Supersonic. It does heal on the next turn as I hit myself in Confusion. This is potentially a problem, but a few turns later, HG snaps out of Confusion and Pelipper goes down. Lastly is Skarmory, but now that we have Flamethrower, it cleanly knocks it out in one shot, winning us the 6th gym badge. Next up is a huge chunk of the game that involves trotting all over Hoenn to infiltrate the Team Magma and Team Aqua hideouts, but it's all pretty trivial stuff. I do find a Master Ball just sitting around in the Aqua hideout though. It seems a little suspicious, so I throw it out just to be sure. After Team Aqua escapes to the bottom of the ocean, I sorta just decide that that whole thing is not particularly time sensitive, so I go back and focus on my gym campaign. That leads me to Moss Deep City's gym leaders Tate and Liza, also known as the technicality for every Emerald solo Pokemon challenge. Since Tate and Liza engage in a double battle, they won't actually fight you unless you have 2 Pokemon on your team. So along with HG, who's now at level 60, I bring a Trapinch named Junior, who will just use Sand Tomb until she goes down, which happens almost instantly. A Crunch from HG takes out the Xatu, and Solrock takes its place. Then Claydol uses Earthquake to ruthlessly knock out Junior. On the next turn, I hit Claydol with a Crunch, but it leaves it with a Sliver, so it retaliates with a Psychic, which happens to drop my special defense. Solrock also sets up a Sunny Day. Tate and Liza are going to heal the Claydol, so I decide to take this opportunity to knock out the Solrock. Lunatone comes in, so I try to knock it out with a Crunch, but it also hangs on with the Sliver. And then Claydol hits a Psychic, and gets another special defense drop, as Lunatone just uses Light Screen. So now we've got a pretty big problem. I'm able to knock out the Lunatone with another Crunch, but Claydol retaliates with a Psychic, which leaves me with a Sliver thanks to my 2 special defense drops. Thanks to Light Screen, there's no way that I can one-shot that Claydol, so my only play is to paralyze with Dragon Breath and hope that Claydol gets fully paralyzed, or that I get a critical hit. So I go for a Dragon Breath, which does not paralyze, and then Flygon goes down. That double special defense drop was stupendously unlucky, but so it goes. Like the Brawley fight, this should again prove that the luck needed to do this challenge with a hardcore level cap would not be worth trying. Maybe if I didn't do it Deathless and I allowed myself to reset every time, then I could do it after a bunch of attempts. But challenges like that, where you just try over and over again until you get a lucky crit or you land a low accuracy move, aren't particularly interesting to me. I much prefer challenges that make you come up with a more reliable strategy, which is why for the most part I prefer Nuzlocke over solo Pokemon challenges. I should say though that I have an insane amount of respect for Poketubers like Madrybread, who grind out solo Pokemon challenges that require playing some battles 50 times. Props to all of you who do it. Anyways, on to attempt 3. This time, HG is female, and she's timid. Timid isn't amazing since I don't need the extra speed, and it lowers my attack, but oh well. It kinda sucks that I have to reset so far into the game, but this challenge is actually pretty quick. With speed up, it only takes me about 90 minutes to get back to Tate and Liza, which is orders of magnitude less time than it takes me to do my typical Nuzlocke challenges. The first 6 badges are pretty much the exact same as in the previous attempt, so there's no need to show that all again. But this time, before challenging Tate and Liza, I make sure to travel all around the map and take on any other trainer that I can find, just to get a few more levels. Now HG is level 65, which is more than enough to be able to one-shot the Claydol and the Lunatone before they can do anything other than knock out Junior. And that's badge number 7. From here, it's time to save the world. Well, actually, the green space noodle saves the world. I honestly do very little. It's unclear if I'm the one that awakens Rayquaza by going to Sky Pillar or something, but in terms of actually stopping Kyogre and Groudon, I don't do anything, I just watch. Rayquaza is the real hero, so let's not forget that. Wallace seems to have. Anyways, during this cataclysmic event, I find the TM for Earthquake, which Flygon does not learn naturally for some reason, so I teach it to HG. And with that new move, HG is able to pretty cleanly sweep through the 8th and final Gym Leader Juan. Dragon Breath takes out his Kingdra, but everything else just falls to a stab, soft sand boosted Earthquake. And now we're at the final challenge of the run, the Elite Four. And this is actually pretty scary, mainly because one of the Elite Four members is Glacia, who specializes in Ice types, which are 4 times super effective to HG. The champion Wallace also has a handful of Pokemon that can hit strong Ice Beams. So I need to be at a high enough level to knock out these Pokemon in one shot, because if I don't, a critical hit Ice move will almost always kill me in one shot. This again shows the difference between solo runs and Nuzlocke. If I could just reset anytime that Glacia gets a critical hit, I could probably do the Elite Four at a much lower level. But when I only get one chance, unless I want to replay the whole game, I need to be able to play around critical hits. It's unfortunate that over-leveling is the only answer, but Flygon's move pool is just too limited to try any other clever strategies. I thought about substitute strats and a handful of other ideas, but none of them are reliable enough, especially since Flygon doesn't have access to any setup moves other than Double Team. So, before facing the Elite Four, I go around Hoenn one last time, making sure to fight every trainer I can find. After doing this, and clearing through Victory Road, I get HG to level 78. Then I collect as many rare candies as I can find, and give them all to HG. This caps her off at level 93, which should be more than enough to one-shot even the bulkiest of threats. So here's my final stats, and my final move pool. Let's see if HG has what it takes. As always, first is Sydney, and HG is able to cleanly sweep through this with Dragon Claw. Not much to discuss here. Intimidate from Mightyena lowers my attack, but dragon moves are special in this game, so we don't have any problems. Second is Phoebe, and after her Dusclops uses the obligatory Protect, Earthquake knocks it out. And then Earthquakes knock out the rest of her team as well. Even with a timid nature, Stab Earthquake is really powerful. Third is Glacia, the reason HG needed to be so overleveled. All of her Pokemon go down to soft sand boosted Earthquakes as well, even the threatening Chonky Walrus waiting in the back. Fourth is Drake, but all of his dragon types go down to a single Dragon Claw apiece, proving definitively that Flygon is objectively the best dragon type Pokemon. Last is Wallace, and now things actually get a little bit interesting. Emphasis on a little though, we're still level 93. Wallace leads Wailord, which goes down to an Earthquake. Second is Tentacruel, which also goes down to an Earthquake. Third is Milotic, which goes down to a third Earthquake. But then Gyarados comes out, and that drops HG's attack with Intimidate. I hit it with a Dragon Claw as it just goes for a Dragon Dance. Wallace then proceeds to use not one, not two, but 3 full restores on the Gyarados. But eventually it does go down, and then Ludicolo comes out. I hit it with Dragon Claw, which doesn't kill, so Wallace uses Double Team. Well, guess what, asshole? I replaced Crunch with Feint for this exact reason. Never again will I wipe to this stupid Ludicolo. For some reason though, Wallace has yet another full restore, so I do need to use 2 more Feint attacks to take it out. This allows Ludicolo to set up a Leech Seed, which means I'm on a timer now. If Wallace had brought Ludicolo out a few Pokemon earlier, this would actually be really bad, but all that's left is his Whiscash. Since Gyarados dropped HG's attack, I go for Dragon Claw, which does leave the Whiscash with a Sliver, but it just goes for Amnesia. And since Wallace seems to have misplaced his 5th and 6th and 7th and 8th full restore, a final Earthquake knocks out the Whiscash, winning us the battle and the run. Well, that was a pretty chill run. It was obviously fun to use my favorite Pokemon, but I was pretty surprised at how much I had to overlevel to guarantee some of these kills. As I said before, Flygon has a pretty straightforward moveset. Almost all of its moves are simple attacking moves, at least in Generation 3, so there's not much strategy to a challenge like this. Still, it was a good break from the more strategically complicated challenges, so I hope you liked the video. Hardcore Nuzlocke videos will always be my primary focus, but I'm looking to try out some other types of content, so let me know what you'd like to see by commenting down below. And if you enjoyed watching, please like the video and subscribe. Or don't. I don't know. But I do know that you should follow me on Twitter and Twitch to keep up with streams of my future Nuzlocke challenges, and you should also join the FlygonHG community Discord, where you can discuss Nuzlocking and make recommendations for future challenges. The link is in the description below. Stay tuned for more Nuzlocke videos, and until then, remember to always, always, always play around the critical hit.